Hi, my name is Scott Miller, and I am the Director of Sales for Amplify360. Hey, listen, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day to watch this video. Really, what we're trying to do here is let you know what Amplify360 is all about, what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and why you representing us gives us a good opportunity and gives you an opportunity to look like a hero with your customers and make a few dollars along the way. So once again, super appreciate you jumping on and watching this. What I do want to do is I want to introduce somebody who's been with Amplify360 for a long time. He's extremely good at what he does. His name is John Riley, and he's an executive vice president here at Amplify360. John, thanks for being with us here today.
Man, so excited, Scott. Thanks for having me on this, and excited to be here to help explain kind of who we are and what we're going to do and how we help our doctors.
That's going to be a great help. Thanks. So now you've been with Amp360 for how long has it been?
This is the 25th year. This is I finished my 24th, and now this is the 25th year. August will be the closing of that 25th year, which is insane. And it's been a phenomenal journey, literally helping thousands of doctors really break through that ceiling of complexity, the ceiling where they what they don't know, right? And so it's and like anything, right? Whether it's athletics, whether it's academics, whatever it might be, is that someone doesn't really know what that true ceiling is. They have a glass ceiling of where they think they are, or they think is truly impossible, but yet the true ceiling comes when they partner with someone that has got there literally thousands of times. And that's what brings me great joy. What gets me out of bed every day, Scott, is that helping doctors to achieve things that they've never thought possible.
Well, that's great. And I love the passion that you have for that. And it's something that I know from working with you that is very genuine from within inside you. You really do truly care about wanting to help these doctors out. So we're talking about Amp360. We're talking about, what we do. Can you give us just a really broad overview on what Amplify360 does and really what we're all about?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we're a full service marketing firm. That's the core of what we do. It's the marketing is really the catalyst, but yet there's so much more to it that we'll get into it here in just a bit. But if a doctor that you have, let's say the rep that you're listening to this, is that if you have a doctor that is the wanting to get out of PPO is like the 36% of doctors today, like according to the ADA, that are getting out of PPOs, we get them out all the time, more so than any other time in history than post-COVID, which is fascinating. We do a ton of acquisitions, so doctors that buy practices, we're not the broker, but when a doctor buys a practice or is in the process of buying a practice, they will bring us on board to help them through that, to ultimately grow that new acquisition, or they're doing a startup. So we start with doctors 120 days before they open, so that we're really preparing them for a solid start, to senior docs that are saying, okay, it's time for me to bring on an associate. I want to slow down and maybe work 1 or 2 days as a practicing doctor and become more of a mentoring doctor to that new doc and bring on an associate. That's a very common one. To practices that go through, doctors that go through different CE, they come back from these implant courses or full arch courses or IV sedation, whatever it might be, sleep apnea. They come back and they now have been trained clinically, but they have a gap. They have basically family crown and bridge patients. There's some internal working that they can do there, but what they really want is external patients to come up to really match who they are clinically now to that implant level or that sleep apnea or whatever it might be, that full arch cases that they're really trying to attract externally. That's a very common practice where a lot of doctors will engage with us over time. And then ultimately the exit, right? The doctors are saying, okay, I want to exit in 2 to 5 years. Fabulous time that we partner with doctors to to get them through that process. So it's doctors really of all kinds of journeys, from right out of dental school to the day that they retire. We work with them all. We don't work with every single doctor, though. There's a very specific kind of ideal type that we work with. Doctors that are really wanting to grow, and they're wanting to change the culture within their practice so that they can grow. If they're just trying to buy a widget and they don't want to change anything in their practice, we're probably not going to be a good fit. But if a doctor is saying, I really want to grow, I've tried a whole bunch of things, but I've failed to really get through that break through that ceiling, this is a time where we're introducing Amplify360. And much like you said, Scott, is that you could, to the rep now, is that you could look like a hero for introducing us, because that's the kind of a onus that we're going to have. We know that you've referred them, so we want to make you look like that hero.
You know, you mentioned that there something that really resonates with me. I love the idea of, hey, the doctor's gone out and learned a new skill, learned something new. They want to start placing implants. They want to start getting into XYZ procedures. And now we've got this platform to help them attract that type of patient, because, you know, maybe it's not, maybe their current patient base isn't really going to help them explore that. This is great. I think that's a fantastic point.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that. Well, hey, so listen, there's certainly no shortage of marketing companies out there that do things somewhat like this. Of course, I think we're heads and shoulders above the rest, but what can you tell us?
And we are.
What can you tell us about what separates us from them?
That's really the key, Scott. You nailed it. Is that when we talk about what separates us, because there's literally, like in 2022, we actually set out to acquire some marketing companies. Well, in that process, we got to evaluate over 100 dental marketing companies, which was a fascinating process. Well, in that, all, of course, NDAs. So what we learned is that, oh my gosh, we are head and shoulders above like the competition. It's crazy. So there's 3 pillars that we do. First pillar is marketing and strategic growth. I don't mean to interrupt you. You're good.
I apologize. Strategic growth. I think that's something maybe we should touch upon just a little bit. That sometimes
absolutely
can confuse folks. Well, what does that mean? Tell me what that means.
Well, yeah, and I get why you're saying that too, because it is an absolute. So many people talk about strategic growth, right? But when we talk about strategic growth, we mean it. And why is that? Is strategic growth doesn't happen just because I have a marketing plan and the doctor is going to implement it. If we don't know what's going on underneath the hood of the practice as far as implementing strategic tactics, so marketing and strategic growth, those 2 things go hand in hand. So marketing, I'll talk about the tactics and I'll get to your question here in a second, is that marketing is, we do every tactic under the sun. There's nothing that a doctor is wanting that we don't do. So they don't have to look anywhere else. So if doctors all the time say, I'm so thankful to come to a place that's everything's under one roof. Super important. Why is that? It's called marketing, a full marketing attribution. If everything that the doctor is doing is under one roof, everything can speak to one another, like Google Ads to an over-the-top streaming ad on Netflix, Hulu, and Prime. The QR code that they would scan on the TV, that is speaking back to the website, to the ads, all the way through even social media or what have you, so that we can understand the buying trends, the buying questions, first of all, of what the average consumer is wanting, all the way through their buying cycle. Then where this strategic growth comes in, we not only track it from the time that this is getting into the pillar number 2, and I'm going to talk about strategic growth in this process, but pillar number 2 is data insights and training. The data insights portion is that we track we tap into the PMS of the software. Right now we have 4 that we're doing, is Open Dental, Dentrix, EagleSoft, and Curve. Curve is our latest that we're finishing here in April, which is amazing. And those 4 PMSs helps to give us those data insights so that we can actually have what we call strategic growth. Strategic growth has to happen because we understand what's going on inside the practice, inside the four walls. We understand the practice data so much so that we've actually built 4 proprietary softwares that help with that. One is the investment performance analysis. So when we talk about strategic growth, we need to first understand what's really working in the marketing tactics of the doctor. So we call ourselves tactic agnostic. We don't care what we're doing for the doctor. We literally don't. But it has to drive 2 things. One is a high quality new patient, and 2 is a volume of those high quality new patients. That's it, right? So if we're doing both of those with that data, then we're right on track with what the doctor wants. If we're doing high volume, but they're emergency-based patients, which we don't, I mean, you're going to get some emergency-based patients, but that's not what we do. So if a doctor just a couple of weeks ago said, hey, I get 150 new patients a month, I want 300. I'm like, did I miss how many patients you need? And like, how many doctors you had? They all only one. So they're an emergency-based practice. That's not what we're all about. We're here to say, how do we drive the practice towards a fee-for-service practice over time through strategic growth, because we understand from the time that someone clicks on an ad all the way through the buying cycle of that patient, we know, okay, John Riley, click on an ad for Dr. Scott Miller, and Dr. Scott Miller then scheduled me, and then ultimately had a treatment plan, and I accepted that treatment. Well, now we know that Dr. Miller's dollar is actually being invested properly, because now I followed through 2 implants and a couple composites, and then 8-unit anterior veneer case. We're tracking all the way through the buying cycle of the John Rileys, of the patients out there in that process. So that's where strategic growth comes in, because we understand what when we talk about the pillar number 2, the data insights. And then we get into training. Training is absolutely key. So if you have the most amazing marketing in the world, but the conversion in the practice is not happening, you can get 100 leads for implants on a monthly basis, but if your team's not converting that, that's a problem. So we actually train your team on this, even though traffic's up to us and conversion's up to the doctor, right? We still believe that we want to come alongside the doctor and give the doctor and the team that coaching. That's where doctors have said that coaching, that culture of how we do it is such a game changer. Because here's the deal: if a doctor is investing, let's say $5,000 a month, and they're converting only 50% or 40% or 30% of those leads, now if they go to 60, 70, 80, their dollar just goes further, but they're not investing anymore, right? That's the power in that training. So the second pillar, data insights and team training, is absolutely critical. But then the third area, this is where it separates us. All the number 2 and number 3 are, even number 1, all of those combined, what changed the trajectory. Number 3 is profitability and advisory. We meet with the doctors, every doctor and team, doctor and a couple team members, not the whole team, but maybe the doctor and the office manager, on a monthly basis for 30 minutes. Why? We want to make sure every single month we're navigating towards the doctor's big picture goals. By the time that they get to their goal, it's never a surprise to us or the doctor, because we've been meeting with them every single month in, month out, navigating towards that. So we're adjusting the sales so that if we see some different economic headwinds, like what we saw in 2020 or 2009 with the real estate bust, or 2001 with regards to 9/11. We've been through all of that. We've been doing this since 1995. So this is our 31st year, I believe it is, going on our 32nd. We have all these 3 pillars that really help the doctor to focus on profitability and fulfillment. Profitability and fulfillment are often lost in marketing, quote unquote. Why is that? Because they're not looking at, oh, you're writing off $403,000 in PPOs. That's the average doctor that has PPOs. If it's a single doctor practice, to all you reps out there, average doctor is writing off $403,000. If there's 2 or 3 doctors in there, you just start to do the math. It's daunting on what they're doing. That's marketing dollars. So if a doctor is writing off $403,000, that's $35,000-$40,000 a month, depending on how much they're investing in PPOs. That's the cost. That's a marketing cost for those PPOs, and that's ridiculous, because the average doctor then is investing 40% of their collections towards PPO marketing. Bad solution. What we do is we help those doctors to put that profit back in their pocket, and also look at retention and some different areas like fee reviews. We have all these different softwares that we look at to where we can help the doctor at every phase to make sure that they're as profitable as possible, so their profit's going up. So if you're a rep of equipment or whatever it is that you're repping out there, we're going to help to increase that profitability, so they're also going to do more revenue with you. That's an absolute partnership in that process. So that, I hope that helps, Scott, to kind of give a well-rounded view. It's a true partnership with the rep that we're going to do together, that we would love to be able to help them understand this entire process after even the doctor comes on board.
That's excellent info. And listen, I think one of the important takeaways of that is that you recognized me as a doctor, which really is important that finally happened. I may not be a dentist. I may not be a doctor of good things, but no, kidding aside, John, that's very, very helpful. And I think that that's a good overview for the people watching this video to understand what it is that we do and how we can really, really make a positive impact on the practice and their business. That's tremendous. Thank you for spending the time talking to us about that. And for those of you watching, listen, you're watching this because we want to do some work with you. You know, the power of the independent rep out there, and I've known a great many in my 25
years. You have.
in dental, and some of you may know me, but I have a tremendous belief in what you do and the way that you go about your business, and that's what's bringing us to you. I know that you've got good relationships, and I think that this can be a good fit in with your day-to-day life. And so really what this is all about is you understanding us, so you can feel confident to go talk to your doctors about what we can do for them. And really all that we're hoping for is that you go initiate a conversation with Amplify360. We're not asking you to, be the steward of this whole thing from cradle to grave. No, you get us started, you give us the referral, and then we're off to the races. There's a payday for you. You're going to get some money for getting us into just a conversation. So that's really all you're doing. You're selling that first conversation. You get that, we're going to pay you. Then if that customer does, or if that doctor does sign on and become a client of ours, then you're going to get quite a bit more money. So folks, listen, thanks for taking the time to watch us. I really appreciate it. And let's talk. We'll be talking soon, and let's do this together. I think this is good opportunity.
Yes. Thank you for listening. And we truly appreciate the partnership. And thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you, John. Bye now.